Disney is facing critical lawsuits and massive public reaction after they tried to promote sexism in the movie, and particularly it's against the presence of white males, and their own audience is hating them for promoting extremely woke things, so Disney is under a big, loud, and messy backlash. This upcoming show by Disney is hated by probably every social media influencer on social media. Even mainstream media also bashed
in the early 2000s, when the new CEO came in, Disney became less about the magic and the imagination and raising good kids and telling good stories, and more about the business and making Disney infiltrate your child's life in every possible way, whether it's through diapers or their plastic backpack with the princesses. And
it all started with the trailer, a moment Disney clearly thought would inject enthusiasm. But instead of getting excited, fans were spitting shots at creating a storm of trolls online to make matters worse. Disney decided to delay the film by more than a year, hoping the backlash would lose its intensity. Spoiler alert, it didn't. If anything, the delay only turned up the heat, and let's not forget delays cost money, a lot of money. Now this movie's budget has ballooned so much that it's reportedly one of Disney's most expensive projects ever. Not a great look when the whispers about this being the studio's most expensive movie are already gaining steam. But here's where it gets even weirder. What if the delay wasn't just about damage control? Sure, Disney claimed they needed time for reshoots and tweaks, but rumors are swirling that there were legal reasons in play too. Yeah, you heard that right, legal troubles, and not just any legal troubles. Lawsuits accusing Disney of discrimination a few months ago. Right around the time Disney announced Snow White's delay, the company was hit with not one but multiple lawsuits, and these weren't just your run-of-the-mill complaints. These were high-stakes, headline-grabbing lawsuits with allegations of discrimination against men and political bias. And did I tell you that some of these cases were personally sponsored by none other than Elon Musk? Here is the leaked video about discrimination in Disney.
Say it.
There's no way we're hiring a white male Mitchell. Been at the company for 11 years now, so I have friends in HR and I have friends in the divisions. And look, nobody else is going to tell you this, Mike, but they're not considering any white males for this job.
One of the lawsuits was tied to actress Gina Carano, who sued Disney for her controversial firing from The Mandalorian. Another centered on claims that Disney discriminated against men, and these weren't just hollow accusations either. The cases were well prepared and publicly supported, and the evidence behind the cases was even stronger. For example, a leaked video allegedly showed a Disney VP casually discussing discriminatory practices within the company. Now here's where it gets interesting. Could Snow White have played a role in all of this? The film's timing and content seem to align a little too perfectly with the lawsuits. It's not a stretch to think lawyers might use Snow White as a symbol of Disney's alleged culture issues. After all, the movie represents the company's current creative direction, a direction that's been heavily criticized for alienating traditional audiences. Coincidence? Maybe, but it's hard to ignore how closely these legal headaches and the film's delays are intertwined. Disney didn't just delay Snow White. Once they doubled down on reshoots. First they filmed additional scenes, then after the lawsuits hit, they announced even more changes to the movie. But here's the kicker, Disney hasn't been clear about what exactly they were reshooting. No details, no explanations, just vague promises that the movie was being improved. Sure, Disney. In case you think this is all just speculation, let's talk about that leaked scene. Yes, a clip from the upcoming movie found its way online recently, and it was, well, not great. Fans quickly noticed major differences between the original animated classic and this remake version in one infamous moment. Snow White's interaction with the dwarfs takes on a completely different tone. The dialogue, the context, and even the characters' relationships, all of it felt off, and naturally people were furious, accusing Disney of not only botching the beloved story but also injecting it with what some are calling sexist undertones. Here's the kicker, this public boycott isn't just about nostalgia or loyalty to the original film, it's about the broader perception of Disney as a company over the years. Disney has been accused of pushing woke agendas even though it clearly alienated their core audiences. The leaked scene only poured gasoline on that fire, with critics saying it's yet another example of the studio prioritizing its own narrative over storytelling, and honestly, with lawsuits and PR disasters piling up, it's starting to look like Disney's worst nightmare is unfolding in real time. And honestly, any kind of reaction from the public is justifiable because Disney has completely changed the plot of the lore. They have completely rewritten the personality of Snow White and her behavior toward the dwarfs in the animated classic. Snow White was kind and selfless, taking the initiative to clean the dwarfs' home alongside her animal friends as a gesture of goodness. Fast forward to Disney's live-action version, and we've got a completely different vibe. The new Snow White, she marches into the dwarfs' home while they're already there, mind you, and starts barking orders, telling them to clean up their own space. The twist is she doesn't even lift a finger to help. Not exactly the sweet, helpful character fans remember, and let's be real, the internet loved tearing this apart. One viral comment perfectly summed up the absurdity. Imagine coming home after a long day in the mines and finding a stranger in your house, and instead of gratitude, you're handed a lecture and a to-do list. Fans are losing their minds at how Disney managed to turn a timeless character into someone who is arrogant, stupid, and anti-male. The worst is that many feel this new Snow White unfairly portrays the dwarfs, specifically the male ones, as incompetent and lazy. How would this not stir the accusation of an anti-IL agenda? Is everything in Disney? Couldn't have picked a worse moment for this scene to leak, with lawsuits accusing the company of gender bias already on the table. This clip has become a gift wrap package for opposing lawyers. It's a vivid snapshot of the cultural shift critics accuse Disney of embracing, a shift that's alienating a significant chunk of their audience. The scene, cooped with public interviews featuring Snow White's lead actress, Rachel Zegler, only adds fuel to the fire in one instance. Zegler casually joked about her male co-stars' scenes being slashed from the film. Yeah, not exactly the kind of humor that plays well when the entire internet is scrutinizing the movie for its treatment of male characters. The absence of the prince from the trailer set the public on fire even more. The public is asking, is his role in the story being minimized to obey the woke agenda? Fans have been quick to point out the irony: a fairy tale centered around romance and teamwork now seems to be restructured into a story where one character dominates while others fade into the background. This isn't Disney's first remake of a classic that stirred up an uncontrollable backlash. Over the past few years, they've repeatedly estranged their audience with decisions that are nothing but tone-deaf. Take The Marvels, for example, when fans criticized the movie's direction. Disney executives and creators tried to undermine the backlash, calling it rooted in racism, sexism, and homophobia. The result was the movie tanked at the box office, earning the dubious title of the lowest-grossing MCU film to date. Fans weren't just upset about the film itself, they were furious at being insulted for their opinions. It's a pattern that's hard to ignore. Let's take The Acolyte, which was made by Star Wars. It faced a barrage of criticism for its story, production, and execution. Instead of addressing fans' concerns, Star Wars stuck to the trick of blaming the backlash on sexism. But guess what? Low viewership led to complete closure after just one season, and yet Disney keeps repeating the same mistakes, prioritizing messaging over entertainment and then blaming the fans when things go south. Interestingly, Disney may finally be learning its lesson, or at least trying to. The marketing campaign for Deadpool and Wolverine was a really great gesture. Instead of lecturing fans or pushing woke narratives, the campaign focuses on what audiences love: humor, action, and a celebration of the characters they adore. For a moment it felt as if Disney realized that listening to fans and giving them what they wanted might actually be a good idea. Could this approach work for Snow White? Maybe. It is reported that Disney is trying to rework parts of the film before the release next year. If the leaked scene is any indication, the company might be in panic mode, trying to make last-minute adjustments to protect its reputation. After all, with billion-dollar flops in the making, Disney can't afford another disaster. Fans are tired of being ignored and insulted, and they're not shy about not spending any money on such agenda-driven projects. What do you think about this massive boycott of Disney by fans for the woke Snow White? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos on Snow White and other woke disasters. See you in the next one.